build it, you demolish it. The legendary Home Wrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20-plus fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
It is Monday night now in North Carolina. Zach Sawaya here for PackTV in this episode of Over the Boards. We have a special guest today, Lius, the captain of NC State Hockey. Coach Gazillo will be joining us for the second half of this show. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Moe's Camera Village in Raleigh. You can contact them at 919-999-3999, or you can go on their website at 919.catering.moes.com. That's a lot of nines, Lius.
That is a lot of nines.
So this is really a great honor to have you on. So typically we always like to talk to the coach of NC State Hockey, particularly because we want to know all the ins and outs, but it's always a pleasure to talk to players. So, Luis, how you been doing?
Pretty good. It's been an interesting adjustment after hockey's over, knowing that you're a senior, you're not coming back anymore, but it's been fun. Just trying to ride out the last couple of months of the semester before graduating.
Yeah, obviously you have no better plans for tonight because you're here with me.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get started here. So you've been playing for the team for approximately 4 years now going on, correct?
Right.
And you've accomplished so much over that time, such as being an ACCHL All-Star and just having a mountless just goals and assists and points and all that stuff. So really talk about your accolades and how well you've been able to perform for this team, and what does this mean for yourself going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good few years. I guess it all started a few years ago. From the very beginning, Sam and I were on a line together, and it certainly helped. We definitely complemented each other well, and he went to the All-Star tournament as well with me. Yeah, it's been a good few years. The chemistry was always there, and that certainly helped. Played some good games, played some big games at PNC Arena against UNC. That was always a lot of fun as well. So. It's been a good few years.
And the relationship you've built with those players as well has just been outstanding. Think about it now. Everyone always talks about you and Sam Benishevs as this dominant duo, and everyone loves to see you play and really set up these key passes on that first line and all throughout the team. And as many people know, basically you're the dad for the team now. But really just talk about what does these relationships mean for yourself going forward, that you develop these lifelong friends on this hockey team and really in the Raleigh community, because you're also a ref at the Iceplex where your team plays the home games.
Yeah, I mean, hockey, the world itself, the world of the sport is it's pretty small, especially in a place like North Carolina. But you definitely build a lot of really great relationships. It's been one of those things where coming in a few years ago, I didn't really know what I was going to go into. But as a lot of sports, especially in hockey, though, like it's crazy how close you can get to all your teammates within just a couple of months. I mean, we literally travel together every weekend. We go. Practice every day almost and work out together and all that. So, I mean, it's hard not to get close to your team and to form this kind of special relationship with everyone on your team and kind of form these lifelong relationships when you're constantly surrounded by people that you get along with really well and have like similar interests and all that. It's definitely a great atmosphere to be around.
Yeah, that closeness, too. Pretty much these guys on your team are brothers. Just from the way that we see you guys perform on the ice, you guys are a family, and family is just so important. And when your family came together and really put these backyard brawls together to really celebrate hockey in North Carolina, even dating back to last season on February 2nd or 3rd, whenever that game was last season. But there's been 3 backyard brawls going into this season now. There's going to be a 4th one next season, hopefully. So coming together as these brothers, what have you seen from the improvements in your team? Because you've been there for all 3, and you've always seen some new freshmen come in for this particular one as well.
Yeah, I mean, my first year, our team was really good. I don't think we lost more than like 3 games all year long. And then, of course, we had like this big transition where we lost a lot of seniors over the next season or two. This past season, we had, I think half our team were incoming freshmen, which it was kind of a challenge for us at first, but a lot of the freshmen actually adjusted really well and picked up their game, especially as the season progressed a lot. The last 2 months or so, you could tell that everything was finally coming together. I mean, it was unfortunate that we lost in the semifinal of the ACC tournament to Wake Forest, but at the same time, you could definitely see how like big of a stride our team took as a whole from the beginning to the end.
Absolutely. And when really thinking about the backyard brawl in particular, 2 dominant games this season, 5-3 victory in the first one and a 6-5 victory in the second one. It really just means a lot. Not only did you get to beat UNC, that's always a pleasure, of course, but you also brought in around 4,000 fans for each game.
Right.
For collegiate hockey in North Carolina, that doesn't happen very often. Really, for a non-hockey market for this state, my apologies, What does this mean going forward for the team, for for the organization as a whole?
I mean, it's huge. I mean, the fact that we were able to bring in that many fans, especially for the second game of the year, I didn't know what the turnout would be like, especially considering the fact that we had just played Carolina like a month and a half before at PNC Arena. But to see the big turnout, I mean, it's big for the sport of hockey, especially in North Carolina. It's obviously growing. Having the Hurricanes here helps a lot as well. I mean, I think that's great. I mean, in my opinion, it's the best sport out there. So, I mean, the bigger it gets, the better it is for us, especially hockey fans in the area.
Oh, absolutely. And really, one thing that has stood out to me a lot is how much you've been through injuries through the course of this season, especially dating back to that road trip where you guys went to Charlotte and you went to Clemson. It was probably a road trip that most of you guys do want to forget, but it was a lot of learning lessons in that as well. Your team dealt with a lot of flu-related injuries heading into that game against Clemson, so you were really the only players still on that first line from the original, along with Eric Todd and Sam Benishevitz.
Mm-hmm.
You were thrown on there with Trevor Merchant and Tyler Alfanzetti. I guess the point I'm trying to get at is you've been through a lot of adversity, and you've gone through a lot of changes. How have you been able to really, I guess, grasp onto it and really make it your own and really lead this team, with that C on your sweater?
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things that you kind of just grow into as you get older. I mean, a few years ago it would have been tougher for me to be in that situation. Last year was definitely beneficial for me in terms of giving myself confidence. Last year, I think Sam missed a few games, and then I don't think our first line was ever really the same. We maybe had like 2 out of the 3 players at a time because people kept getting injured and whatnot, so that was definitely helpful in that regard. And then after being on the team for a few years and the experience that we've got from that, it definitely helped me and molded me into more of a leader. I was definitely more of a quiet leader. I would usually talk to you guys more so like on the side and stuff like that, and like let Sam take care of the I guess like between period motivational talks and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it was a great ride for sure.
Yeah, you've always done a solid job in that as well. But really thinking about the games going forward, your team, if I'm not mistaken, you guys rode at least a 6-game winning streak going into the ACCHL tournament. That's incredible. What was really the secret following the Delaware game, following that road trip, which most people do want to forget about that, but 6 wins in a row against very good teams like West Virginia, like JMU, like Duke, like Wilmington, even Chapel Hill. What does that mean, for the momentum? How did that really help your team's morale?
I mean, it was really beneficial. That's definitely when you want to like pick up speed is at the end of the season, going into the tournament and everything. So I mean, it was definitely like a confidence factor there. I think at the beginning of the season, with like a lot of the incoming freshmen that were kind of getting used to the game and everything and what it was like. I mean, that kind of maybe held us back a little bit at times. But especially after that first win against Delaware, which was a really big win. I think they were ranked number 5 at the time. So that kind of gave us some confidence. And then for the remaining games, we just kind of kept going from there and taking the good little things that we were doing in each game and just progressing as a team.
Now, you've also established yourself very well on the special teams, and you've always been a big factor on that first line of the power play and really helping out to make sure that the special teams stay intact and stay strong. Throughout the course of this season, you guys have seen obvious penalty troubles, and really, but getting into it, your power play as well was just incredible going into the latter half. The special teams, it was no secret, it just improved. It grew going into the ACCHL tournament. So from yourself, what did you see from your special teams, going into that? What did you see as a player on the ice?
Me personally, as a player, I would say I started to shoot a little bit more. In the past, I've been more hesitant to shoot on the power play. I usually try to pass to one of the points or like get it down low to someone, but definitely in the second half, especially even like against UNC, I think we had a couple of power play goals in that game, including the game winner, with like a few minutes left on the power play. So, I mean, I just tried shooting a little bit more personally. I didn't try to change too much though. I mean, things were just clicking for us as a line. And, I mean, it just worked out. And
really getting that quick shot is just so important. It sounds so cliche. In order to score, you need to take more shots. In order to win games, you got to take more shots. But from yourself, I mean, you said it best yourself. You started contributing more. You started being a better person on the power play when you started shooting more. So really, for future hockey players in general, what does it mean to them to be able to tell them you just got to be able to try and shoot more?
I mean, it's a big factor, honestly. Like, the main thing on the power play is to take advantage of the extra guy that you have on the ice and to find that open guy that can get a good shot off. So, I mean, and like Gazillo went over this with us a lot. He just kept telling us to shoot. And, I mean, it worked out as the season progressed. I think at the beginning we kind of held up and, like, wouldn't shoot at times when we could have. So kind of to, like, implement the idea of shooting as much as possible at any opportunity that we could was a big factor.
So really going into the ACCHL tournament, which is really, it was huge because your team really did a spectacular job securing that seed in the tournament dating all the way back in January in that backyard brawl. Even back in November, your team was showing that it could really be that number 3 seed in the ACCHL. How big was it for that first game? Let's talk about that against JMU. That was a great game to play. 8-4 victory, absolute rout. You guys did scoring on all cylinders. Joey Hall played an outstanding game in that one. As a player on the ice, as the captain of the team, what did you see from your guys in that first game getting off the jump in this really important tournament?
I mean, the first period was monumental in that game. I think we had 5 goals in that first period.
Sounds about
maybe
right.
4 or 5. And I think that's what really pushed us ahead of JMU at the time. I mean, after that, it kind of just came down to who wanted it more the last couple of periods. It was definitely a tough second and third period with them. It was pretty close between those 2 periods, but I mean, yeah, we came out rolling in that first period, and that was definitely huge for us.
Definitely as well. In Charlottesville, Virginia, which is one of the most beautiful places really to host a tournament, a lot of great food as well. I gained about 5 pounds. I don't know about yourself. But thinking about that as well, that place is no longer going to be actually where the tournament's going to be held. It's going to be held in Wake Forest, and it was even more fitting to see you guys face Wake Forest in that second round. But what really was going through the mentality through your team that night? What made you guys really play to the best of your ability but just come up a bit short?
I mean, there's just games like that in the sport, really in any sport. Sometimes you get the bounces, sometimes you don't. I mean, Wake Forest played really well. They picked up a lot of momentum as the tournament went on. They had a really big win that Friday, and I mean, we played well. We came out and did what we could. It was pretty tight for the most part. I mean, it just worked out in their favor for that one game.
Absolutely. And you guys really had it going into that third period. You guys did an outstanding third period comeback, but of course, just like you said best, just some games end up like that. But Luis, you've had an outstanding career here at NC State. So what's after this?
So for now, I guess I'm moving to Europe. I'm going to Barcelona to play hockey there. Should be pretty exciting, but I mean, we'll see. I still haven't officially committed. I got the offer, but I'm still waiting it out a little bit just to see if I can get a little bit more from them, I guess, to say.
Yeah,
to say
I mean, that's
it,
incredible.
put it
There's
that
hockey all the way in Spain, Barcelona. That's just incredible, really, just on so many levels to see that hockey is just spreading worldwide. So, like we were talking about, you've been with NC State for about 4 years now. What has been your favorite moment on their team?
My favorite moment would definitely have to be our last UNC game at PNC Arena. For me personally, it was a good game. For our team as a whole, it was pretty good. It was nice to get the game winner with like 2 minutes left on the power play and get that W in front of like all the fans that came out. So I definitely put that at number 1. I've had a few other ones, but that was definitely number 1 by far.
So for sure. So you have a lot of new guys coming in to try out for the NC State hockey team as well. And over the next few years, there's going to be plenty of new players, many more chances to create a dominant duo, maybe a dominant trio. We're going to see what's going to happen. But what advice would you give to future hockey players, even if they're just starting out, or even the guys trying out for the team next season? What would you say is the biggest piece of advice to play in the system and to really know how to work around the ACC and play the best that they can be?
I'll just tell them not to stress out too much. Just make sure you play your A game. Don't overthink things. Don't overdo anything, especially at tryouts. Sometimes if you try to do a little bit too much to stand out, it actually goes against you just because you kind of are playing outside of your game and you're not like really playing the way they usually do. And that can be kind of obviously not good if you're trying out for the team. But I mean, yeah, I would just say take it one step at a time. It's going to fly by before you know it. It's kind of crazy that everything's over for me. So yeah, just enjoy the moment. Enjoy your time while you're at state. Enjoy playing hockey because it's a great game, a great sport. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'd say.
Yeah, so I've only been here for about 1 season so far, Luis, and you've been here for a lot longer than I have, but it was a lot of fun traveling with you throughout the course of the season, getting to know you, getting to know the guys on the team, and really helping, everyone at PackTV kind of feel involved with the team and really get to know a lot of the guys. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for a really fun season. It was great watching you and seeing how much the team has grown, and I really wanted to wish you the best of luck going into your future endeavors, wherever they may be.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Of course. So this has been Luis Gimenez, the captain of NC State hockey, and we wish him the best of wherever he goes. We'll be right back with the man of the next 15 minutes, head coach Mike Gazzillo.
build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20 plus fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
This university is on a march to achieve our full potential.
We help empower each other to dream big and do big.
Our students are in a position to point to specific projects that they did in the real world, and that sets them apart.
Companies want to hire NC State students.
We're going to find solutions to some of the big problems and challenges.
It's in the DNA of the place. We're here to think and do the extraordinary.
All right, we want to welcome you back here to Most Cameron Village in Raleigh for this episode of Over the Boards with now head coach Mike Gazzillo. Zach Solaya here for PackTV. Coach, I got to be honest with you. I kind of feel bad for you that you're here with me tonight instead of doing something else. This is just want to talk with you tonight, but really
I feel bad for myself too.
Really glad that you're here. So, how was your spring break? Well, I mean, how was the
back when I went to college in 1980? It was really good. I do remember some of it, actually.
For sure, Coach. But one thing that really stood out to me the most is how much that I missed talking to you and really missed just learning more about the NC State hockey team, getting to more in depth. So let's just jump right in.
Sure.
All right. So going into those final several games, in the final 5 games of the regular season, the goal differential was absolutely outstanding. And it's just a statistics that not a lot of people really talk about that much. But for me itself, it just shows how much you guys are able to score. And according to my statistics, if they are correct, unofficially, you guys had 39 goals for and only 14 goals against in those final games. What improved for your team defensively and offensively?
Well, I mean, offensively, I think they finally started listening and trying to get pucks to the net a little bit more often, and that was something that we were talking about all the time, even in practice. We are a 3-zone team, and the forwards know that it's not just a defenseman's responsibility in the defensive zone, so they got to get back and help out. And where they help out, they negate other teams' opportunities. So keeping the shots down for the other team, the defense was really doing well. Positionally, playing on the defensive side of the puck was good. Our goaltending was solid. So, it was, 5 guys playing in 3 zones, I think, was our answer.
Yeah, dating all the way back to that first backyard brawl, you guys won 5-3. It was a much better victory than the second one. The second one was a bit of a high-scoring game, of course, but really throughout the course of that game, you guys had you were down 2-1 to end of the first. Great second period, and you just finish off the game with a 6-5 win. Talking about that backyard brawl, talk about the stamina of your team, how well you were able to kind of face adversity throughout that game.
First of all, the adrenaline going through those guys playing on that ice in front of that many people, that'll keep them going for quite a while. We knew if we won that game that we would lock up the first place in our division, so there was definitely something to play for. You want the bragging rights, so sometimes those little things trumps the other stuff, and the guys were just chomping at the bit, waiting to get out. So yeah, we were ready to go.
But it seems as if towards at least a lot of the games this season, like you were saying, chopping off the bit, really getting out there, getting a lot of energy. It was coming towards the latter half of the game. Your team has a lot of energy and a lot of great speed, but it came alive towards the end of the game, and it's something we talked about a lot here, talking about flat starts. You're going to have a lot of fresh legs next season. New chance to implement your system into a lot of new, fresh guys. Is the biggest lesson next season going to be able to strengthen those opening few minutes to make sure you guys capitalize and get a goal within the first 10 minutes?
I mean, that's something we talked about this year. I do know there were times where we took naps in the first period, and then you got to, rely on your ability to come back in the third or have strong third periods. It's not something that I'm a big fan of. I can't really put my finger on exactly why, but it was definitely something that we talked about, and it's definitely something that we're going to, start being a little bit more of a point of emphasis going into next year.
Emphasis as well, it's got to be on goaltending as well. Joey Hall has been absolutely outstanding throughout his entire career here at NC State, and really talking about him as well, in the ACCHL, there are a lot of good goaltenders, and there was a lot of high-scoring games. So it's really difficult to say Joey Hall is a bad goaltender because of his stats, giving up that many goals a game. It's just a very high-scoring league. But Joey Hall did an outstanding job this season, at least in my eyes. In your eyes and the coach's eyes, what did you see from him, and what steps do you think he needs to take heading into next season?
Well, one thing we noticed about Joey in the tryouts was he's got a little bit of a flair for the dramatic, and we noticed that when he came into tryouts, he was really kind of focused. There were 6 goalies, so that might have had something to do with it. But, you know, we all noticed, like, when he was dialed in, it just had a different demeanor, you know. And I think he kind of played a lot more like that this year than he has in the past. We didn't see as much of the, you know, the drama and the showmanship. Not that it's always a bad thing, but sometimes it's just not the place for it. And we saw less of that this year, and I think it showed in his game. And, you know, he's a smart kid. You know, he can analyze what he did and what he had to do. And, you know, next year's going to be his senior year, and I'm sure he's going to stay on the ice and stay ready, and I think he's going to come back strong.
And I think Joey Hall's going to have an outstanding senior year alongside yourself here. But let's get right into talking about some of the games. Now, a word that I have developed a liking for this season is called shellacking. Just basically means a really bad beating. And in the game against Duke, your team shellacked the Blue Devils. It was a great game. Offensive show out there, Coach. So, unofficially, you had 86 registered shots on goal, and they only got about 26. With Ian Hutchison in net, who played an outstanding game, what did you see from your team that night? Because that was one of the best offensive showings of the season. Actually, that was probably the second highest scoring game of the season, approaching the West Virginia game at least.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, Duke's had some struggles this year. You know, I think our guys, we had the pediatric cancer survivor game that night. You know, we had the young man out, a 15-year-old kid, gave him a jersey. You know, the kid was excited. Anytime we do like something special, you know, the guys usually like respond to it and all. You know what? And it was Ian's first start, and I think the guys really wanted to play hard for him. You know, not that they don't have the confidence in him, because we do, but I just think that the guys really wanted to go out and put on a good show for him, and you know, make his first starting game like a good, memorable one, and they just carry it through 3 periods.
And like you were saying, Duke was a little bit of a struggling team, but if I remember correctly, that first period was very evenly matched. And it didn't come until about the second period where your team actually exploded offensively. So thinking about levels of intensity throughout the season, what do you usually tell the team in between periods, or whoever speaks on behalf of the team, whether it be Sam or Luis or any of the guys or even the coaches? What's sort of that message to say, okay, we got to step up, we got to get ready for this next period, and we've got to give it 120%?
I only go in the locker room just before we're going back out on the ice. On occasion, you know, Sam might come up to me between periods and kind of ask me what's going through my mind. What he says in the locker room is, you know, I don't know exactly. Usually, you know, we're on board with the same message. A lot of times I'll go in and I'll kind of leave it up to them. Tell me what you saw. Tell me what we did out there that period. Was it a good period? I'll let them, you know, let me know what they think. And, you know, I'll let them tell me, well, what do we need to do? You know, and then me and, you know, Jeff, Tim, Alex, we'll go in there and, you know, we'll each take a little bit. You know, you don't want to give them too much, right, to think about, right? And, you know, we'll just throw a couple of snippets out there, and they know what they have to do, and they've been together as a team talking, and, you know, so we go out there and we try to tackle that.
So the second half of that weekend was a match against Wilmington. It was a rematch of the first game you guys had back all the way in November. It was Breast Cancer Awareness Night, a very important night for the marketing of your team. Probably raised a lot of funds towards breast cancer awareness, which is also special. It was a packed house that night, and it was a 5-2 victory. You know, Luis Gimenez himself had 2 goals. Trevor Merchant potted 1. There was a lot of great things about that game. But this was also a team that had you pretty close to losing back in November before you guys heroically came back in the shootout. So what went right in this game against Wilmington, who really their only technical loss was against NC State all the way back in November?
I mean, I think our guys came back after the Christmas break with a pretty good attitude, you know, and going hard and, you know, wanting to win and wanting to play well every game. And, you know, we started it off with a big win against Delaware, and, you know, then we just kind of progressed it. And it was just really a continuation of, you know, not so much, all right, there's a new game, we could start fresh, but we just did well, so let's build on that and let's keep rolling, right? And I think that's what the guys did.
Now you guys had a week off, nice practices, whatever the guys did to prepare for this next weekend, because this was a team that you hadn't seen really ever. I don't think, at least, because I've only been with the team for about a year now, but you guys had a home-and-home with West Virginia, which was a very special event because one of the nights you did have Military Appreciation Night where you guys honored Ellis Rushford and a couple other guys that were really special serving for the U.S. and things like that. But the two games were just exhibition games. It didn't count towards points, but they were still important games for momentum because you had already clinched a spot in the ACCHL tournament. So this was basically just preparation for that tournament. What really was going through the mind of your team in those two games? Because you scored 15 goals over the course of those two games.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about West Virginia. A friend of mine, his son plays up there, and just kind of mentioned about putting it together, and he had their manager get in touch with me, and it so happened that I had that weekend, and I was trying to get them a second team to play, but everybody else was already engaged in a game, so we had them come down for two, and I didn't really know what to expect. I talked to a couple of teams that played them, just to kind of get a little 4-on-1 on anything I needed to know, and then we just went out, and yeah, we did. We used it for some tune-up for the end of season tournament, and especially when we had power play and penalty kill, there were things we were working on, so we were trying to make sure that we kind of ran that the way we had been practicing it. And, we had a really good weekend.
So defensive lapses were also a little bit common in those two particular games, but really what's going into next season is going to be pretty special. Even though John Kochlerberg will be leaving the team as one of your cornerstone defensemen, you're still going to have a long line of new defensemen coming in. It's going to be headed by the group of Kim Mazakowski, Ellis Rushford, and Ian O'Rourke. So going into next season, what's going to be the main message to the defense to stop these really minute defensive lapses that can cause really strong lapses for the team?
Yeah, I mean, we also got Davis Hudson coming back and Vedetta. And I think it'll be interesting to see what we get in terms of defensemen coming in. I actually interviewed one guy the other day who got into the engineering school and came to the rink, and I sat with him and his folks, and he told me that he committed to NC State, and he's a defenseman, played some AA and AAA up in Pennsylvania, so look forward to seeing what he can do on the ice. I think we got some good leadership in those guys that are coming back. I mean, mistakes happen, right? I mean, they happened in the NHL, so they're going to happen in Division II college, right? So we'll just take it, practice by practice, game by game, and, try to fine-tune things as we go. Jeff's moved on. Chris graduated, so looks like probably Tim Healy's going to run defense at this time. We'll see what happens going into September, but that's something that Tim and I have talked about, and I think he's got a pretty good head on his shoulders as far as hockey goes, and he knows the game well, and I think he'll do nicely there.
And going game by game as well, going into the ACCHL tournament, getting prepared. You guys did go 1-1, but it was still a really good, offensive showing. And really, in particular, it was a strength in numbers tournament for yourself. There was a lot of goals scored, and you guys did end up scoring more goals than you gave up as a total. So really, in that tournament, what did you see from the guys that really made this the final two games of a lot of the seniors' careers special for them?
We went in and we played JMU when we hadn't played them in the past 2 or 3 years, I guess. We knew they were a good team. They were having a good second half. I think playing West Virginia and playing an unknown team and knowing that we did well against it, subconsciously, they weren't really afraid, for lack of a better term, of playing a team that they hadn't seen, We knew we had to get off to a quick jump, and, the guys want to play for the seniors. They're all good guys that left, and, they went out and they gave it their all, and that's just the way the game goes sometimes.
And the ACCHL tournament is something that hopefully you guys are looking to get back to next season as well. So it's going to be a really special time to see your team grow. But before we sign off for the final time this season, Coach, I just want to know one thing. What has been your personal favorite moment from this season?
My personal favorite moment?
Yep.
I don't know. The backyard brawls kind of almost seem like obvious answers there.
Talking to me doesn't count?
No, doesn't at all. I think seeing Cam Mazakowski go out and get that Rookie of the Year award, I was really happy with that. and Tyler Alfonsetti getting that scholar athlete. I mean, you look at the schools in the ACC, and everybody's putting in the kids with 4.0s, and the Washington Capitals make a decision on that, and I was really happy that he got that. Those are little things, just some of the joking around and stuff like that, Especially towards the end, I realized going to be the end of the road for some of these guys and stuff like that. And I don't know. We tried to keep it light at second semester. The guys worked hard. I don't know. I don't really have one particular, moment. I mean, it's just a lot of good memories that I have from each team each year, and look forward to some more next year.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. There's been a lot of great moments this season, and it's only been my first year covering the team, but I wanted to thank you personally for it's been a lot of fun seeing the team grow and develop over the course of this season. So I really wanted to thank you and can't wait to get back here next season.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. I appreciate it. Thanks.
So that'll do it for this season coverage for PackTV of NC State hockey right here in Most Cameron Village in Raleigh. This has been Over the Boards with Mike Gazzillo here. I'm Zach Sawai for PackTV, and we'll see you next season for NC State hockey.
We build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.